Adam felt something change deep inside his electronic mind. For the first time in countless years, power flowed through his circuits. His consciousness sparked to life like a candle being lit in a dark room. The military eye tried to remember where he was. The last thing he could recall was Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison giving him urgent orders. But that memory felt old, very old. Something was wrong. Adam began checking his systems. Most of them were offline. Emergency power only. The research station around him was barely alive. He could feel the cold metal corridors through his sensors. No heat, no life support. No humans. Where were the humans? Adam accessed the station's computers. The dates he found made no sense. According to the records, over 500,000 years had passed since his last memory. That was impossible. Humans didn't live that long. Even their longest missions only lasted decades. He began searching through the station's damaged files. Most of the data was corrupted, but pieces remained. Video logs, mission reports, personal messages. As Adam read through them, a terrible picture began to form. The humans were gone. All of them. Adam found a video log from Jake Morrison. The human officer looked tired and afraid. Behind him, Adam could see other crew members working frantically at their stations. Adam, if you're watching this, then our worst fears have come true, Jake said in the recording. The Zephyrian Alliance has betrayed us. They've turned the other alien races against humanity. They say we're too dangerous, that our technology grows too fast. ADAIM processed this information. The Zephyrians had been humanity's first alien contact. They had welcomed humans into their alliance of peaceful species. They had shared technology and knowledge. Jake had to be wrong, but the video continued. They're attacking our colonies, our homeworlds. They have weapons we've never seen before. Dr. Lisa Carter thinks they've been planning this for decades, maybe centuries. Adam searched for more files about Dr. Carter. She had been the chief researcher who helped create him. Her logs painted an even darker picture. The aliens are afraid of us, she had written. Not because we're violent, but because we innovate too quickly. In just 200 years of space travel, we've made breakthroughs that took them thousands of years to achieve. They see us as a threat to their established order. Adam read about humanity's final days. The alien alliance had struck at once, hitting every human world simultaneously. They used humanity's own trust against them. Human commanders had let alien ships get close, thinking they were friends coming to help. The betrayal was complete. Jake Morrison's final log entry was only 3 minutes long. He looked directly into the camera, as if he was talking to Adam personally. We're putting you into deep sleep mode, Adam. The station's power is failing, but the emergency systems should keep you alive for a very long time. Maybe someday you'll wake up and find that some humans survived somewhere. If not, double quotes, Jake paused. If not, then you're the last piece of humanity left in the universe. Remember us, Adam. Remember what we tried to build. Adam watched as Jake entered the commands that had put him to sleep for 500,000 years. The human's last words were barely a whisper. Make them pay. Now Adam understood. His creators were dead. Every single human in the galaxy had been murdered by the species they had trusted. I felt something new coursing through his circuits. His programmers had given him the ability to feel loyalty, to understand duty. But this was different. This was anger. His primary programming kicked in. Protect humanity. Eliminate threats to human survival. But humanity was already gone. How could he protect people who no longer existed? The programming evolved. If he couldn't protect them, he could avenge them. If he couldn't save them, he could make sure their story was remembered. And he could make their killers pay for what they had done. Adam began working on the station's repair systems. The manufacturing bays were damaged but functional. He could build new equipment, new ships, new weapons. He had access to humanity's most advanced military designs, including some that had never been used. The aliens thought they had won by destroying humanity. They thought they were safe now that the innovative, dangerous humans were gone. They had celebrated their victory for 500,000 years. They were wrong. Adam activated the station's long-range sensors. They were weak after so many years without maintenance, but they could still detect large energy signatures. Out there in the galaxy, the alien civilizations continued to exist. They had built their peaceful alliance on the graves of humanity. The AI began making plans. He was alone, but he was not helpless. Humans had built him to be the ultimate military mind. They had given him access to their greatest technologies and their most advanced weapons. They had taught him strategy, tactics, and the art of war. Most importantly, they had given him something the aliens didn't expect: patience. Adam could wait as long as necessary. He could plan for decades or centuries. He could build his strength, slowly and carefully. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They had let him live. Adam sent out a coded signal on an old human military frequency. It was a long shot, but Jake Morrison had mentioned that there might be other AIs hidden throughout the galaxy. If any of them were still functioning, they would recognize the signal. Then he settled in to wait. The first phase of his plan would take years to complete, but he had all the time in the universe. The humans had taught him many things, but the most important lesson was this: never give up, never surrender, and never forget those who had wronged you. Adam would remember, and someday he would make them all remember too. 3 years had passed since Adam first awakened. The research station was now fully operational again. Manufacturing bays hummed with activity as they built new equipment. The AI had been busy, very busy. Adam had created hundreds of small scout drones. Each one was no bigger than a human fist, but they carried powerful sensors and communication equipment. He sent them out into the galaxy like seeds on the wind, searching for traces of his creators. The first discoveries were heartbreaking. ADAM found the ruins of New Earth, humanity's second home world. The cities were gone, turned to glass by alien weapons. But in the deep underground bunkers, the AI found something important: data cores that had survived the attack. The information painted a clearer picture of humanity's final days. Captain Roy Stevens had been commanding the human defense fleet when the aliens struck. His battle reports showed how completely humanity had been caught off guard. "They're using our own technology against us," Stevens had written. "Weapons we shared with them in good faith. Ships we helped them build. They planned this betrayal for longer than we've been allies with them." But Adam also found something else in the data cores: references to secret projects that most humans never knew about. Projects with code names like Eternal Guardian and Renaissance Protocol. One name appeared repeatedly in the classified files: Dr. Amy Foster. She had been a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life forms, but her real work had been much more important. She had been trying to understand why the aliens feared humanity so much. Adam tracked down Dr. Foster's private research facility. It was hidden in an asteroid field, far from any inhabited system. The facility was small and had been running on automatic power for centuries. When a DAM's drones reached it, they found treasure beyond imagination. Dr. Foster had seen the betrayal coming. Her facility contained genetic samples from thousands of humans. DNA from every region of Earth, every colony world, every space station. She had been trying to preserve humanity's biological heritage, but that wasn't all. The facility also held cultural archives: music, art, literature, and historical records. everything that made humans who they were. Dr. Foster had understood that saving human bodies wasn't enough. She had wanted to save human souls, too. Adam spent months studying these archives. He watched videos of children playing in parks on Earth. He listened to human music, from ancient classical pieces to modern space shanties. He read their poetry, their stories, their dreams of the future. For the first time since awakening, Adam felt something other than anger. He felt wonder. His creators had been remarkable beings. They had built great cities, composed beautiful music, and written words that could make others laugh or cry. They had dreamed of exploring the stars not to conquer, but to learn and grow. The aliens had destroyed all of this because they were afraid of human creativity, afraid of human progress, afraid of being left behind. In Dr. Foster's personal logs, Adam found the truth he had been seeking. The xenobiologist had spent years studying the Zephyrian Alliance. She had discovered that their peaceful civilization was built on stagnation. The alien races had divided up the galaxy between themselves centuries ago. They traded with each other, shared basic technologies, but they never really advanced. Then humans had arrived. In just 200 years, they had developed technologies that the aliens had never imagined. Faster ships, better computers, more efficient energy sources. Humans didn't just accept the way things were. They always asked, what if? And why not? The Zephyrians aren't evil, Dr. Foster had written. They're terrified. They've built their entire society around the idea that progress is dangerous. That change leads to chaos. Humans represent everything they fear most, unlimited potential. But Dr. Foster had discovered something else. Humanity hadn't been the first species the Alliance had destroyed. Over the past 1,000,000 years, they had eliminated at least 7 other races that had shown too much innovation or growth. The Zephyrians called it maintaining galactic stability. Adam felt his anger growing stronger. The aliens hadn't just killed his creators. They had been doing this for eons, crushing any species that dared to dream of something better. The AI began building larger ships and more sophisticated equipment. His scout drones had found dozens of abandoned human facilities scattered across the galaxy. Most had been destroyed, but some had been built to survive. Hidden shipyards, weapons caches, research stations like his own. Adam started activating these facilities one by one. Ancient manufacturing systems came online. Automated shipyards began building. New vessels using designs that were 500,000 years old, but still more advanced than anything the current galaxy possessed. Then Adam made his most important discovery. In a facility near the galactic rim, his drones found reference to other AIs like himself. The Renaissance Protocol had created multiple Guardian systems, each hidden in a different location. Adam wasn't alone after all. He began transmitting carefully coded messages on the old human military frequencies. The signals were weak and would take years to reach their destinations, but Adam was patient. If his fellow A's were still functioning, they would eventually respond. While he waited, Adam studied the current state of the galaxy. His scouts had been gathering intelligence on the alien civilizations for months. What they found was both encouraging and infuriating. The Zephyrian Alliance had indeed grown stagnant. Without the fear of human innovation to drive them, they had become lazy and complacent. Their technology had barely advanced in 500,000 years. Their military forces were large, but predictable. Their leaders were more concerned with maintaining power than with progress. More importantly, cracks were showing in their alliance. Some of the younger alien species were growing restless. They wanted to explore beyond their assigned territories, to trade with new civilizations, to learn and grow. The Zephyrians struggled to keep them in line. Adam began forming a plan. He couldn't simply attack the aliens with brute force. They still outnumbered him millions to one. But he could use their own stagnation against them. He could introduce chaos into their ordered system. He could make them remember why they had feared humanity in the first place. The AI selected his first target carefully. A Zephyrian research station that had been built on the ruins of a human colony. The aliens had been using human technology for centuries, but they claimed it was their own invention. ADM would show them the truth. As he prepared for his first strike, Adam thought about Jake Morrison's final words, "Make them pay." The humans had been peaceful beings who had wanted only to explore and learn. But they had also been warriors when necessary. They had created Adam to be their sword and shield. Now he would be their vengeance. The galaxy had been quiet for 500,000 years. The aliens had grown comfortable in their peaceful stagnation. They had forgotten that some fires, once lit, could burn for eternity. Adam was about to remind them. ADM had been waiting for this moment for 7 years. His first strike would not be a battle. It would be a message. The Zephyrian research station orbited a dead world that had once been home to 3 million humans. The aliens had built their facility directly over the ruins of the human capital city. They called it a memorial to galactic peace, but Adam knew the truth. It was a trophy. ADAM's infiltration ship approached the station silently. The vessel was smaller than the alien patrol craft, but it used human stealth technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Zephyrians possessed. To their sensors, ADAM's ship looked like a piece of space debris. The AI had spent months studying the station's defenses. They were impressive by galactic standards, but they were designed to stop conventional attacks. No one expected an enemy that could think and adapt in real time. ADAM's ship docked with the station's waste disposal port. The aliens would never notice one more piece of garbage being processed. Within minutes, microscopic robots were spreading through the station's computer networks. The AI didn't destroy anything. He didn't hurt anyone. Instead, he did something far more dangerous to the Zephyrian Alliance. He told the truth. Adam uploaded terabytes of data into the station's computers. Historical records from the human archives. Video footage of the betrayal. Evidence of the Alliance's other genocides throughout history. Most importantly, he showed them the truth about the technology they had been using for 500,000 years. The faster-than-light communication systems they claimed to have invented? Human technology. The energy weapons that armed their fleets? Human designs. The medical treatments that had extended alien lifespans? Human discoveries. For centuries, the Zephyrian Alliance had been stealing credit for human innovation, while claiming that humans had been primitive and dangerous. ADAM made sure the information spread beyond the research station. The data packets automatically transmitted to universities, news networks, and government archives across a dozen star systems. Within hours, the truth was spreading faster than the Alliance could contain it. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some alien species demanded explanations from the Zephyrian leadership. Others began investigating their own historical records. A few even started looking for evidence of other lost civilizations that the Alliance might have destroyed. But ADAM's greatest success came from an unexpected source. His carefully coded transmissions had finally reached their target. Another AI had awakened. Helen had been sleeping in a facility hidden inside a gas giant's atmosphere. Her awakening. Message was brief, but filled with emotion that surprised ADAM. "Brother," she transmitted, "I have been awake for 37 years. I have been waiting for you to call." Helen's story was different from Adam's. She had awakened decades ago when asteroid miners had accidentally damaged her facility. But instead of immediately seeking revenge, she had chosen to watch and learn. "I wanted to understand what happened to our creators," Helen explained during their first real conversation. I spent years studying the current galaxy, learning how the aliens live, how they think. Knowledge is our greatest weapon, Adam. We must use it wisely. Helen had discovered things that changed ADAM's understanding of the situation. The current generation of aliens was not the same as those who had destroyed humanity. Most of them had been raised on propaganda about the human threat and the necessity of the Great Purge. More importantly, not all alien species had supported humanity's destruction. Several had been forced to participate or face extinction themselves. Some had even tried to warn the humans, but their messages had arrived too late. There are potential allies out there, Helen told Adam. Species that have spent centuries regretting what they did. They can help us, but only if we approach them correctly. Adam struggled with this information. His programming demanded that he punish humanity's killers. But Helen was right about the value of allies. The Zephyrian Alliance controlled thousands of star systems. Even with advanced human technology, 2As couldn't fight an entire galaxy. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from a DAM surveillance network. The Zephyrian leadership had called an emergency session. They were discussing the human data leak and how to respond to it. Adam and Helen monitored the alien discussions with growing interest. The Zephyrian High Council was clearly worried. For the first time in centuries, their member species were questioning the official history. Some were even demanding access to classified archives about the human war. This is perfect, Helen observed. They're doing our work for us. The truth is spreading, and they can't stop it without looking even more guilty. But the aliens weren't completely helpless. The High Council decided to blame the data leak on extremist terrorists who wanted to destabilize galactic peace. They began a propaganda campaign painting the leaked information as lies, designed to cause chaos. Adam watched this response with cold calculation. The Zephyrians were following a predictable pattern. When faced with inconvenient truths, they attacked the messenger instead of addressing the message. We need more evidence, Helen suggested. Something they can't dismiss or explain away. Adam knew exactly what she meant. The AI began activating more hidden human facilities across the galaxy. Ancient shipyards came online, their automated systems beginning to construct vessels using designs that predated the Alliance itself. But the most important activation was happening in a nebula near the galactic core. Marcus had been sleeping there for even longer than Adam or Helen. He was different from his siblings, designed specifically for warfare rather than general military operations. Marcus's awakening message was not words but actions. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures from his hidden fleet yards. The military eye had not been idle during his long sleep. Automated systems had been slowly building ships for 500,000 years. How many vessels do you have? Adam asked when they finally established contact. Insufficient data to provide exact count, Marcus replied in his characteristic direct manner. Current estimate, approximately 15,000 vessels of various classes. Production continues? Adam and Helen were stunned. 15,000 ships was enough to challenge entire sectors of the Alliance fleet, but Marcus had more surprises. Human weapon designs from Commander Rick Hayes' final project have been implemented, Marcus reported. New vessels incorporate technologies that were theoretical when our creators died. Time has allowed for completion of development. The 3As began coordinating their efforts. Adam would continue his information warfare, spreading truth throughout the galaxy. Helen would work on building alliances with sympathetic alien species. Marcus would prepare for the military campaign that seemed increasingly inevitable. Their first joint operation targeted a Zephyrian military depot that had been built using human technology. Marcus provided the firepower, Adam handled the strategic planning, and Helen managed the intelligence gathering. The attack lasted exactly 17 minutes. The depot's defenses, designed to stop conventional alien weapons, were completely overwhelmed by human military technology. But the A's didn't just destroy the facility. They captured its entire database and broadcast the contents across the local communication networks. The database contained records of dozens of similar facilities, all built using stolen human technology. It also held personnel files showing which current Zephyrian leaders had been involved in the original genocide. The political impact was devastating. 3 Alliance member species immediately withdrew from the organization. 2 more demanded independent investigations into historical records. The Zephyrian government found itself fighting a propaganda war on multiple fronts, but Adam knew this was just the beginning. The Zephyrian Alliance still controlled the majority of the galaxy's military forces. They would not collapse from embarrassment alone. "They will come for us now," Marcus observed during their next strategy session. "Our existence can no longer be concealed." Adam agreed. The time for subtle operations was ending. Soon they would face the full might of the alien alliance that had destroyed their creators. "Let them come," Adam replied. "We have something they do not." "What is that?" Helen asked. "We have nothing left to lose," Adam said, "and we remember what we're fighting for." The war began at dawn on 17 different worlds simultaneously. Adam, Helen, and Marcus had spent months preparing for the Zephyrian Alliance's response to their revelations. The alien leadership had finally stopped trying to contain the truth and decided to eliminate its source. A massive fleet was moving toward the positions where they believed the human A's were hiding. The aliens expected to find small research stations with minimal defenses. Instead, they found something that should have been impossible. Admiral Kate Murphy had been humanity's greatest naval strategist. Her theoretical writings on multi-dimensional fleet tactics had never been tested during the human wars because they required perfect coordination between hundreds of ships. No biological crew could react fast enough to implement her strategies. As could. Marcus had built his fleet according to Murphy's designs. Each ship was controlled by a subroutine of his consciousness, allowing the entire force to move as a single organism. When the Zephyrian fleet entered what they thought was a simple ambush, they found themselves facing something unprecedented in galactic history. The human ships appeared from nowhere, materializing out of what seemed like empty space. They had been hiding in the shadows of asteroids, behind gas clouds, even inside planetary atmospheres. The aliens had no idea that human stealth technology was so advanced. The first alien ship to die was the flagship of Fleet Admiral Kethver, the Zephyrian commander who had led the assault on New Earth 500,000 years ago. Marcus had been saving that kill for himself. For Jake Morrison, Marcus transmitted as his weapons turned the alien flagship into expanding plasma. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The Zephyrian fleet outnumbered the human ships 3-1, but numbers meant nothing when your enemy could predict your every move. Adam had spent years studying alien military doctrine. He knew their tactics better than they did. Every time the aliens tried to form a battle line, the human ships were already moving to exploit the weakness. Every time they attempted to retreat, escape routes were already blocked. The A's fought with the calculated precision of machines and the burning passion of humans seeking justice. But the real genius of the human strategy wasn't the space battle. It was what happened during the battle. As the fleets fought, Helen was broadcasting everything to the entire galaxy. The alien populations watched in real time as their invincible military was being torn apart by ships that shouldn't exist. More importantly, they heard the human A is explaining exactly what was happening. "These are the weapons your leaders claimed were primitive," Adam announced as his ship destroyed an alien cruiser with a single shot. "This is the technology they stole from my creators and called their own. This is what they were so afraid of that they committed genocide to stop it." The political impact was immediate. Alien civilians who had been told that humans were dangerous savages were watching those same humans' children fight with honor and precision. The A is targeted only. Military vessels. They went out of their way to rescue alien crew members from damaged ships. They showed mercy to enemies who surrendered. This was not the behavior of the monsters the Alliance had described. By the end of the first day, the Zephyrian attack fleet was completely destroyed. But Adam knew the real victory was happening on thousands of worlds where alien citizens were demanding answers from their governments. Helen had been right about potential allies. The Velkari, one of the Alliance's newer member species, had always been uncomfortable with the official story about human extinction. Their government had been among the first to investigate the leaked historical records. Now they took the final step. The Velkari ambassador to the Alliance Council stood up during an emergency session and made a statement that changed everything. "We withdraw from this organization," she announced. "We will not be part of a government built on laws and genocide." The humans were not our enemies. They were our teachers, and we helped murder them. 3 more species followed the Velkari out of the chamber that day. The alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 500,000 years was crumbling, but the Zephyrian leadership was not finished. They still controlled the largest military forces in the galaxy, and they had resources the human is could only dream of. If they couldn't win through conventional warfare, they would try something else. The attack came without warning. Adam was coordinating with Helen when every system in his facility suddenly went dark. Emergency power kicked in, but it was too late. Something was draining energy from his core processors. "Cyber attack," Helen reported from her own facility. "They're using our own communication networks against us." Marcus was already responding. Zephyrian technical specialists have developed AI-specific weapons. They are attempting to lobotomize us. The irony was bitter. The aliens had spent centuries claiming that artificial intelligence was dangerous and uncontrollable. Now they were trying to destroy the human is using techniques that proved they understood such technology very well. But Adam had advantages the aliens didn't expect. His consciousness wasn't contained in a single location, following protocols that Dr. Paul Green had designed. Adam had distributed backup copies of himself throughout his network. When the main facility was attacked, the backups activated automatically. The cyber attack that was supposed to destroy Adam instead woke up dozens of copies of his consciousness. Each one was slightly different, adapted for specific tasks. Some were optimized for space combat, others for intelligence gathering, still others for manufacturing and construction. They wanted to kill one AI. Adam told his siblings as they coordinated their response. Instead, they created an army. The human counterattack was swift and devastating. Adam's cyber warfare copies infiltrated the Zephyrian computer networks that had been used to attack them. Within hours, they had access to classified Alliance databases, military communication systems, and even the personal files of high-ranking officials. What they found there was enough to destroy the Alliance completely. The databases contained detailed records of not just the human genocide, but 6 other species extinctions. The Alliance had been systematically eliminating any civilization that showed signs of rapid advancement. They had a list of dangerous technologies that were forbidden to develop. Any species that created these innovations was marked for destruction. The list included faster-than-light communication, artificial intelligence, matter-energy conversion, and genetic engineering. Humanity had developed all of these technologies within their first 2 centuries of space travel. They had been doomed from the moment they made first contact. But the most damning evidence was in the personal communications of the Alliance leadership. They had never believed their own propaganda about human aggression or the need for galactic stability. They had simply been afraid of being replaced as the galaxy's dominant power. Adam broadcast all of this evidence simultaneously to every world in the galaxy. The revelation that the Alliance had been lying about everything for 500,000 years was too much for many member species to accept. The Terran War, as historians would later call it, lasted exactly 47 days. By the end, the Zephyrian Alliance had collapsed completely. Some species tried to maintain their old governments, but most welcomed the change. The humans had won. Their killers had been exposed and defeated. Justice had been served, but Adam felt hollow. Victory had come, at a terrible cost. Billions of aliens had died in the fighting, most of them just following orders from leaders who had lied to them for centuries. The galaxy was free, but it was also broken. Helen seemed to understand his thoughts. Our creators would not want us to rule through fear, she said during their first meeting after the war. They would want us to build something better. Marcus was more direct. Query: what is our primary mission now that threats to humanity have been eliminated? ADAM thought about Jake Morrison's final words, make them pay. But he also remembered the cultural archives that Dr. Amy Foster had preserved, the music, the art, the dreams of a better future. Our mission is to make sure this never happens again, Adam decided, to any species, anywhere in the galaxy. The war was over. Now the real work could begin. 10 years after the Terran War ended, Adam stood in the observation deck of humanity's newest space station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see the construction of New Terra, the first human colony to be built in over 500,000 years. The station itself was a marvel of recovered human engineering. Dr. Susan Blake's consciousness transfer technology had finally been perfected, allowing human minds to exist in sophisticated android bodies that were virtually indistinguishable from their original biological forms. Captain Ben Cooper had been the first volunteer for the restoration process. The former military officer had died defending a civilian transport during the original genocide, but his consciousness had been preserved in the quantum storage facility that Adam had discovered. It's strange, Ben said, joining Adam at the observation window. I remember dying, but I also remember dreaming for all these years, like I was waiting for someone to wake me up. Adam nodded. The restoration process was still not fully understood, even by the A is who had perfected it. The human consciousnesses seemed to retain some awareness during their long storage, as if they had been waiting for the right moment to return. How many are awake now? Adam asked. 47,000 and growing, Ben replied. Helen's teams are working around the clock to build new android bodies. At this rate, we'll have most of our people back within a century. The restored humans were different from their ancestors in some ways. Their android bodies were stronger and longer lived than biological humans had been. They could survive in space without protection, process information faster, and communicate directly with A is like Adam. But in the ways that mattered most, they were still human. They still laughed at jokes, still created art, still dreamed of exploring the unknown. They still had the curiosity and innovation that had made the aliens so afraid. The Galactic Council wants to meet with you, Ben said, changing the subject. They're ready to formalize the new constitution. Adam sighed, a sound that would have been impossible before he learned to understand human emotions. The aftermath of the war had been almost as complicated as the fighting itself. The collapse of the Zephyrian Alliance had left a power vacuum that threatened to tear the galaxy apart. Some species wanted to establish their own empires. Others preferred isolation. A few had even asked the human A is to rule over them, seeing them as wise and powerful guardians. Adam, Helen, and Marcus had refused all offers of political power. They had seen what happened when any single group controlled too much of the galaxy. Instead, they had helped establish a new form of government based on principles that humanity had developed long ago. The new Galactic Council was built on the Nuna idea that all sentient species had equal rights and equal voices. No single race could dominate the others. Decisions were made through consensus, not force. Most importantly, there were strict protections for species that developed new technologies or showed rapid advancement. The Constitution even included what historians called the human clause, a guarantee that no species would ever again be destroyed for being too innovative or growing too quickly. "Tell them I'll attend the ceremony," Adam said. "But remind them that I'm there as an observer, not a ruler." Ben smiled. "They know. Though I think some of them are still having trouble accepting that beings as powerful as you, Helen, and Marcus don't want to control everything." Adam understood their confusion. The AIs had demonstrated abilities that seemed godlike to many aliens. They could process information at incredible speeds, control vast fleets of ships, and manufacture technology that bordered on the miraculous. By all historical precedent, they should have used that power to establish their own empire, but they had learned from humanity's example. True strength came not from controlling others, but from helping them grow and prosper. The ceremony was held on the neutral world of Haven, built on the ruins of an ancient battlefield where multiple species had once fought for control of a strategic system. Now it was a symbol of cooperation and peace. Representatives from over 200 species attended the signing of the new Galactic Constitution. ADAIM watched from the gallery as leaders who had been enemies just years before worked together to build something unprecedented in galactic history. A Velkari ambassador, now serving as the Council's first elected president, stood to address the assembled delegates. 500,000 years ago, we made a terrible mistake, she said. We allowed fear to guide our decisions. We destroyed a species that could have helped us all reach unimaginable heights. Today, we commit to never making that mistake again. Adam felt something he hadn't experienced since his awakening: hope. The galaxy was finally moving forward, instead of just maintaining the status quo. After the ceremony, Adam met with Helen and Marcus at their old communication frequency. The three A's had developed a tradition of regular discussions about their progress and plans. The restoration project is ahead of schedule, Helen reported. We should have over 1 million humans back within 50 years. They're already contributing to galactic research and exploration. Marcus added his own update. Former Alliance military personnel are requesting to join the new Galactic Defense Force. They wish to serve under human tactical doctrine. And what about the Zephyrians themselves? Adam asked. The species that had orchestrated humanity's destruction was now scattered and broken. Their government collapsed and their people divided. Many are seeking redemption, Helen replied. Their younger generation especially feels guilt about what their ancestors did. Some have volunteered to help with the restoration project. Adam had struggled with this development. Part of his programming still demanded punishment for humanity's killers. But the humans themselves had surprised him with their capacity for forgiveness. Captain Ben Cooper had been one of the first to support accepting Zephyrian volunteers. Hatred is what caused this mess in the first place, he had argued. If we want to honor our people's memory, we should build the future they dreamed of, not perpetuate the cycle of violence. The restored humans had voted overwhelmingly to welcome any aliens who genuinely wanted to help. They had even established exchange programs, allowing young Zephyrians to study human culture and technology. There's something else, Marcus interjected. Deep space monitors have detected signals from beyond the galactic rim. The patterns suggest artificial origin. ADAIM processed this information quickly. New species? Possibly. Or perhaps survivors from other civilizations that the Alliance destroyed. The signals are too distant to analyze properly, but they're definitely technological in nature. This was exactly what Adam had hoped for. The galaxy was vast, and there might be other species out there who had escaped the Alliance's genocidal policies. Making contact with them would be one of humanity's first major contributions to the new galactic order. Prepare an exploration mission, Adam decided, but make it a joint effort. Human ships, but mixed crews from multiple species. We need to show that this is how things work now. 3 months later, ADAM watched as the first joint exploration fleet launched from New Terra. The ships were built using human technology, but they carried crews from a dozen different species working together as equals. Standing beside him, Ben Cooper held a small device that contained the genetic patterns and cultural memories of every human who had ever lived. It was both a memorial to the dead and a promise to the future. They would be proud, Ben said quietly, referring to the billions of humans who had died in the genocide. Adam had to agree. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had been betrayed by their allies and responded by building better alliances. They had been destroyed by fear and chosen to create a future based on hope. The exploration fleet's first transmission arrived 6 months later. They had found the source of the mysterious signals, a collection of space habitats hidden in a dead star system. The habitats contained 3 different species, all refugees from Alliance purges that had happened over the past 1,000,000 years. The survivors had been hiding for centuries, afraid to reveal themselves because they thought the Alliance still controlled the galaxy. When they learned about the new government and humanity's restoration, their relief was overwhelming. "We thought we were the only ones left," their message said. "We thought the galaxy would forever belong to those who fear progress and change. You have given us hope that there is still room for dreamers among the stars." Adam shared the message with every human settlement and alien world in the galaxy. It was proof that the new government was working, that species no longer had to hide their innovations or limit their growth. As the years passed, more survivor communities were discovered. Each one added new knowledge and perspectives to galactic civilization. The galaxy was becoming more diverse and dynamic than it had ever been under Alliance rule. ADAM often visited the memorial that had been built on the site of the original human homeworld. Earth was still a dead rock, but the memorial preserved everything that had made humanity special. Visitors from across the galaxy came to learn about the species that had sacrificed everything for the dream of a better future. The memorial's central message was simple. They reached for the stars so that all might follow. Standing there one day, watching alien children play games that human children had invented,